This is Villa San Michele, Belmond's beautifully restored former monastery in the hills above Florence. We first stayed here before its 18-month renovation, and this time we came back to see what had changed, and most importantly, whether it's still one of Italy's most special hotels. So why stay? Well, there are plenty of beautiful hotels in Florence. Some overlook the Arno, others put you right in the middle of the city. Villa San Michele does something completely different. It's around 20 minutes outside of Florence, tucked away in the hills of the leafy suburb Fiesole, and from the moment you arrive, it feels like you've left the city behind. The building itself began life as a Franciscan monastery more than 600 years ago, and Belmond has just completed an ambitious 18-month restoration. The famous facade, cloisters, the gardens, the swimming pool, and of course that view over Florence are all still there. They haven't tried to reinvent it. They've simply made everything feel more considered, replanting, redesigning, elevating. What always strikes us when staying here is how peaceful it is. You can hear birds, church bells in the distance, and almost nothing else. It's hard to believe one of Europe's busiest cities is just down the hill. We stayed in one of the garden suites, tucked away amongst the trees rather than inside the main monastery. The room felt much more like a private Tuscan home than a hotel. French doors opened onto our own terrace, there were lemon trees just outside, beautiful antiques, soft tapestries, and one of those beds that's genuinely difficult to leave in the morning. There are plenty of thoughtful touches throughout too. Full-size coffee cups, which are a godsend for me. Acqua di Parma toiletries, yoga mat, beautiful stop minibar, generous welcome treats. I was travelling with my mother, who is vegan, and even the welcome amenities had been adapted without asking, which just really summed up the service throughout the stay. One thing I really noticed compared to my previous visit was how much stronger the interiors now feel. Before the renovation, the view always stole the show, but this time I found myself actually wanting to spend much more time in the room. Now, the biggest additions in the room side are Belmond's new signature suites. This is the Limonaya suite, which was created inside the estate's former orangery. It's the sort of place you'd book for a special celebration with friends and family. There's a private plunge pool, generous entertaining space, beautiful living areas, and some of the best views of the estate, and onto Florence, of course. Alongside Limonaya are Botanica and the Grand Tour, each inspired by different parts of Florence's history and landscape. They're completely different in personality, which makes choosing your room part of the experience. Now onto the pool, and this is probably one of my favourite hotel pools in Italy. Not because it's the biggest or the most glamorous, it's not a scene at all, but because of where it sits. It's surrounded by trees, high above Florence, and it's the kind of place where an afternoon just disappears. The poolside grill has also become much more of a destination since the renovation. Wood-fired pizza, fresh pasta, crisp glasses of wine are one of the best lunch views you'll find anywhere in Florence. Perhaps Italy. Now, breakfast is one of those meals that's included in every stay, so it's worth talking about. It's spread out beneath a remarkable Last Supper fresco in the monastery's former refectory, before spilling out onto the terrace overlooking Florence, which is where you'll want to sit. I definitely recommend getting there early if you want one of the tables, which looks straight over the city. The buffet is generous without feeling excessive. Italian pastries, cakes, fresh fruit, homemade spreads like pistachio and hazelnut, juice, yogurts, chia puddings, and an extensive a la carte menu. One new thing they've added is a beautiful fridge which has all the fresh juices and healthy bits in it. Again, dietary requirements were all handled brilliantly, and there's a whole spread of things which are gluten-free and vegan. A la carte is of course also available, and we ordered beautiful omelettes and cooked breakfasts every morning along with pots of steaming hot French press coffee. One of the biggest changes since our last stay is the dining. What used to be one restaurant has become two different experiences. So there's Ristorante San Michele for Tuscan classics and all-day dining. This is a more relaxed dinner venue. And then there's Antesi, which offers a much more refined fine dining tasting menu experience. The bar has also become somewhere you'll genuinely want to spend time, whether that's for an afternoon coffee or an evening Negroni. Of course, there's also the beautiful gardens, which are the most popular spot for aperitivo, because you can see the city at golden hour and it's just absolutely spectacular. Another huge addition is the property's Guerlain Spa, which is remarkably the first dedicated spa it's ever had. It's beautifully understated, tucked inside the former monastery in the main building, and it used to be a couple of rooms which they've now transformed. It fits in entirely with the building you'd think it had been there forever, with a collection of treatment rooms and a beautiful boutique selling Guerlain products. There's also a new partnership with Le Double J, bringing yoga, meditation and sound healing into the woodlands surrounding the estate. There's also a new partnership with Le Double J, the Milanese brand, with a new energy chapel experience where guests can book yoga, meditation, sound healing in the woodlands surrounding the estate. So would we come back? Well, we've stayed here twice, before and after the renovation, and I'd stay here every month if I could. If you're visiting Florence for the very first time and want to walk everywhere, staying in the city might make more sense. But that said, the hotel has a complimentary shuttle which runs straight into the centre of town, which is beautifully air-conditioned with water, and it's just fab. But if you want somewhere that feels like a true retreat, somewhere you can genuinely look forward to come back to after your day of sightseeing, and you can actually spend the whole day just looking onto the very best, most picturesque view of Florence all day, then Villa San Michele is very hard to beat. In fact, halfway through our stay, my mum, who had never been to Florence before, asked whether we actually needed to go into Florence that day. Looking back, I think that probably tells you everything you need to know.